before we get started, Alex is looking at me with the death stare eyes because I forgot my headphones again. So if I don't make it out of this one, just know why.
If there's no episode 3, you'll know why. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone and everything in between, welcome to the Stay Positive podcast. I am your host Alex, and my headphoneless partner is Pete.
Nice.
Happy Sunday. Wait, I shouldn't say days.
Oh, it's fine.
It's
You said
fine.
it
They don't
anyway.
know what Sunday it is. And boy, do we have a topic today, don't
Yeah,
we?
hmm, we definitely didn't plan on this. It just kind of threw itself into our laps, but it's kind of a big part of the podcast. So
Sort of, yeah. So this was originally supposed to be recorded last week, but due to certain events that we've already talked about in the previous podcast, we had other stuff to talk about. So while I was looking up our podcast and refreshing our videos to make us more money potentially, um, I noticed that there were a few Reddit posts about people looking for podcasts about positivity and happiness and like uplifting their spirits. And I thought, with a name like Stay Positive Podcasts or The Stay Positive Podcast or The Guys Who Stay Positive, the podcast, in case we get sued for our current name, I've been brainstorming. I was thinking, let's try and tackle this issue from the get go. So, for those people who are looking for some answers or some insights to those questions, we'll give our 2 cents, and who knows, maybe you'll learn a thing or two.
And also, let's keep in mind here that neither Alex nor I are experts, but I think we have a sense of clarity about what we want in our lives and what we want to achieve, and also how some people should or maybe try to at least go about the way they want to achieve their wildest dreams and hopes. And not to mention, we think that happiness is definitely not easy, but I mean, not all great things in life are easy anyway.
The
So,
best things in life aren't for free.
yeah, exactly.
Or
Whether it's blood, sweat, tears, or cold hard cash, nothing is free. So,
the grind.
anyways, so what is happiness? If let's just start with that. Like, what do you define as happiness?
Ay, ay, ay. What do I define as
As he
happiness?
sighs.
For me, happiness happiness is difficult for me to. I know what makes me happy, as stupid as it sounds, but I'll answer that'll be the second question. So what I consider happiness, I'd like to say that happiness is just like being self satisfied with your own actions and your own, like what you're doing with your life. If you're satisfied with it, I'd say that's happiness. um and that the thing about that is it's a very general, like, overall, like, let's say you have a family. If you love your family and you love your children, you'd probably work whatever job to like sustain it. And you might not like that job and you might consider yourself unhappy, but like if you get to see like the laughter with your children, or spend time with your family and like give them everything you want them to have, you know, you might be consider yourself a very happy person to see your own children to thrive. Let's say you're like us and you don't have children. What is happiness? I think it's still the same thing. It's like, are you doing what you want with your life? Are you like, I know it's cliche, but like, are you like following your dreams, pursuing your goals? Like, because let's be like, for now, I'm working a job that's, you know, of varying quality, to put it nicely, since I still am employed by them. And, if I was to base happiness solely on the job, I would consider myself not a happy person. But the job is more like a means to an end. It's like I'm working that job as the first, as a stepping stone, not the final destination. And it's on the way to hopefully my own happiness.
Hmm.
What do you think? What is happiness?
I think I have a pretty similar idea on happiness. I mean, it depends. There are varying, in my opinion, there are varying types of happiness, obviously, like you just said, and then it's also dependent on like what stage in life you're in. You know, obviously when you're younger, as you said, you want to be focusing more on the stuff that like would help you lead a life of happiness. When you're older, obviously, like you want to see what it is exactly that is making you happy. I think one common denominator between the both is the moment. You know, if you know what's making you happy in this very moment, for instance, I'm talking to Alex right now. It's pretty exciting. I enjoy it. It's making me happy right now.
Highlight of his life.
Maybe not that much, but you know, in 3 hours I'll be eating dinner. That could be the source of happiness for someone else. You know, um, the rush of dopamine from eating good food, whatever. Uh, that is just one aspect, though, in my opinion. Like there's that momentous happiness, that pinpoint, like what you feel in this moment, and there is a type of happiness that you can feel on a daily basis, on just a completely different scale, something that you can have constantly. And I think that that is derived more so from like human will. Uh, the way I see it is if you are happy like on a daily basis and you have something that you're looking forward to always, that is a direct result, in my opinion, of your willingness to actually go out and achieve that happiness itself. So I don't necessarily think of happiness as a state of mind or emotion. I really see it as a goal or something that you want to try to achieve and always strive for, but not necessarily something you can like perfectly attain. Um,
So,
that is a little weird to understand, but it's kind of like what it helps me keep chugging along always. You know, like for instance, right now I'm a pretty young adult male, and so I have different views on what would make me happy, and like obviously chasing a lot of dreams and passions of mine is something that definitely makes me happy. But like I like doing a lot of things on a daily basis, learning about a lot of new things on a daily basis is something that makes me happy in the moment. But I also found for myself that if I'm constantly doing all those things and pursuing them constantly on a daily basis for the next week, next month, maybe next couple of years, over time, it has a compound effect. And so maybe that is what will lead me to happiness later on. I don't know because right now all I can control is my current state.
right.
So,
I disagree a little bit with you labeling happiness as a goal. I think I consider happiness like a goal can be used as like a key to achieving happiness, but it's not the actual happiness. It's more what it takes to get happy, which is a perfect segue to the question of what makes us happy. So I spent like the last week, looking deep down in myself and trying to like think, when have I really been like the happiest in my life? Like genuine happy, not just like a cheap euphoria from like video games or something like that. Something that genuinely makes me feel good inside. And the two highlights for me, one of them is I personally really love helping people.
mm,
Like when I do an action, when I offer assistance, when I just go out of my way to like cheer someone up or make someone laugh or help them through a hard time, or whether it's something big, something small, helping them like carry something versus like sitting down with them and talking to them about life and how they're really not feeling too good and just talking through with them, you know, it just I feel good knowing that their life, no matter how small, has been slightly improved through my action. There's just a good it's just a good feeling, and I never expect it ever in return, but just seeing someone better off from my own action really does make me feel happy inside because I don't know. this might be a little too philosophical, but it like kind of gives you like meaning in the moment. Like, what's the point of your life? It's like, well, if I can help someone else's life, that's pretty good, I'd say. The second thing is accomplishment or achievement. So, like, whenever I won a tennis tournament or a very clutch tennis match, that I really get pumped up and I'm super happy and I'm like raising my fist and I'm screaming, "Come on, let's go!"
Yeah.
You know, and it's fun. It's fun, but it's also that sense of like glee and satisfaction that like you all the work you put in has had a payoff. You had a dream, you had a goal, you wanted to win something, you put the time and effort into it, and then all of a sudden it finally happened. Like, when you reach that goal, when you envision that path of success and you finally like cross that finish line and reach that final step, there's a great sense of satisfaction, like knowing you did it and you believed in yourself and you pushed yourself through it all, and through thick and thin, through like blood, sweat, and tears, through like the hardest mental and physical challenges, you finally achieved it. um Unfortunately, I haven't won a Grand Slam yet. It'll happen. Pete's laughing. It'll happen. I'm sure. 99% sure.
What about the other 1%? What are you gonna do about that?
If the 1% chance I don't become a professional tennis player who wins a Grand Slam, plan B. Become a super famous video game developer. If that doesn't work, plan C. Study AI and masters and become the next Elon Musk.
What about plan D?
We don't talk about plan D.
Okay. It's always good to have plans D through Z, people. Remember that.
Yeah, have as many contingency plans as possible.
Yes. And once you run out of the alphabet, go to numbers.
So that's my answer anyway on what makes me happy in general.
I guess what makes a person happy varies. I mean, it's obvious. Like you can have the psychopath who is happy just by
The misery of
hurting
others.
people, yes. And then you can have the philanthropist who, like, I guess similar to how you described, likes to see the joy in others. I think that the general idea of just doing something in general that you think will bring you joy, that is like that is what makes you happy, obviously. It can be a variety of things, and like it sounds super general, but I think if you understand deep within yourself what you like to do, it's really hard actually for a lot of people to figure that out, because like from from the young age that we're thrown into the education system, we are all of a sudden just kind of thrust into this whole idea of like different subjects in school and different ideas, and the same thing happens in college. Like you start receiving a quote unquote more well-rounded education, with a lot more topics at hand, and you specialize in something based on a hunch you have about what you may like. And then truth is, like, a lot of people change their majors in college. I saw this statistic that like over 50% of people change their major in college because you went in with a hunch. You ended up coming out realizing that you didn't even like that thing that much, and so you changed it.
At least now you know.
Yeah, which is good.
Like
the idea of obtaining that clarity is very important, because it varies from person to person. So what makes you happy might not make the next person happy, and that's fine. But once you know exactly what it is, and we'll talk about like how you can find out what it is.
We will.
Yeah, we will.
Oh wow! I might learn something today.
Once you find that thing, then you're just 1 inch closer, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, and you can tell probably your story as well, when I was in college, my first major was economics, because I was relatively, by both the media and my parents, to believe that business was like the best career choice because I was good at math, and if you study business, you can really have a good career, which is not necessarily wrong, but when I studied economics, I wasn't particularly happy with it.
Mm.
And I remember distinctly, I took the first year, I took intro to microeconomics and macroeconomics. I didn't like it. I went to the guidance counselor and said, "Hey, this is pretty boring and dry. I don't really like it. Does it get better?" And he's like, "Oh, yes, yeah, this is just the beginning courses. It's always boring. Every topic is boring at the introductory level. It'll get higher and it'll be much better." It's like, "Oh, okay, sweet." So, year 2, intermediate microeconomics, intermediate macroeconomics, and econometrics and statistics. I'm still bored, and it's still dry, and I'm not happy. And I go again, "Hey, I don't really like this topic. It's still pretty boring and uninteresting for me, and very theoretical and dry, and I don't really see the use in it." Which I'm sure there is a use, but like at the time I'm just like, I don't like this. And he said, "Oh, well, it's only the intermediate level. It's not like the real stuff. Like the professional level. It's like the second level 2."
Sit down, kid. Just
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
waiting.
Don't worry. It'll get better, right? I'm like, all right, fine. So now I'm taking the master level courses. Macro and microeconomic theory, which is one of the highest level classes, and I was still bored. And it was more theoretical than ever before. Like the level before, there was some practicality and logic, and I still retained some information from it, so it wasn't all for naught. But the higher level classes was so dry and theoretical, and like the thing is, it's like the exam rate. It's like there was like maybe 50 kids, and out of 50 kids, only like 3 got like above 80. And like more than half
so
got under 50.
That's so sad.
I won't tell you which category I was in, but
you can figure that out for yourself.
Use your imagination. Yeah, there's a 50-50 chance you get it right. And I didn't like it, but guess what? I finished all the graduate requirements for economics. So at the time, I essentially could have graduated after 3 years. And I was like, this sucks. I hate this. And I genuinely did not know what to do with my life had I like graduated then. I probably would have tried to like internship at like a business school, but I was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I don't even know if I like it. Well, economics, I didn't like it at all. I'm sure maybe business might have been a little more amusing, but still, it wasn't really something that resonated with me. And then I took a few programming courses, on the recommendation that my dad, he said, take some programming courses because programming is the future. So I'm just like, all right. So I took a few introductory courses and I really liked it. And I decided, I took a math major because I did a lot of the requirements and I'm pretty good at math. And I did a computer science minor. What?
Mediocre at best. But continue.
At math?
Yeah.
Pete, you want to show them your report card?
Excuse me?
You want to show them, quote unquote, your homework and projects?
What?
I'm only kidding, Pete.
Okay.
You stopped taking that minor anyway.
Continue.
So I finished the 4 years with an economics major, a math major, and a computer science minor. And of those three pedigrees, I preferred computer science the most. And now that's the career path I'm pushing myself towards. But I wouldn't have been able to find that unless I stumbled around. I probably could have decided earlier, and not trusted.
You for sure could have decided
the
earlier.
Guidance counselor, but it's fine,
Well, but so this brings us into like how you can find it, and you basically gave like a long description of just the general idea is you have to stumble around.
Just try everything until you're happy.
Yes, exactly. Like you gotta do a lot of stuff, and this is by no means easy. Like It's really easy for us to say. You have to go and try out a lot of stuff, um, but we're still living our lives too. Like we're still going out every single day, trying to see what it is exactly like interests us. And if you want to learn what you like, you just need to experience things. The whole essence of kind of locking yourself up in your room and kind of thinking like, why am I not happy? Instead of going out and trying to find out what makes you happy, like you're not going to find it in your room. You're going to find it going outside and I don't know, smelling the flowers or going on a run or talking to a friend at a park. Like it could be anything, but you have to make sure you're going out and experiencing something. And make sure, I mean, this is hard for a lot of people as well, but if you want to try and uh I guess broaden that whole pool of things that make you happy, go and try to experience something new every time you go outside. Or even if it's not outside, inside, you can do stuff like on the internet when you're looking for stuff that you're doing research or you're just trying to learn a new thing. In general, the whole idea that I want to get across is you want to experience something new. The whole notion of getting experiences is what propels people forward to want to improve, right? And when you're happy, you will always want to improve yourself.
Yeah, that's true. When you're actually passionate in something and you actually enjoy doing it, it's becomes a lot less difficult to become better at it because you're doing it naturally rather than forcing yourself to do it. Um, yeah,
You were gonna say something else. I think I forgot. I don't know what you were gonna say
I don't.
before you were gonna rudely cut me off.
What?
I think you were about to rudely cut me off, but I don't know. Because
Um,
you're a rude person.
oh yeah, you can tell.
um, why? Why choose happiness? That's an interesting one too.
I ask
I mean,
myself every day.
why? Because it's totally inconvenient and makes you live a completely just terrible life. No, I mean,
No, but like let's get actually like really serious, like really serious now.
yeah,
What if you really are unhappy with your life? What
that's one
what
reason why you should choose happiness.
no, but like what do? You're you're working your bad job or you're studying your major in college. You know, you might not have many friends, you might not have a girlfriend, you might hate your teachers, maybe you were bullied when you were younger, you know, maybe your parents are putting a lot of pressure on you. Maybe things aren't going your
Yeah,
way, you know.
totally.
It can really be hard on you.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. I mean, it's tough
It's really easy for us
to just come out here and say all this
say
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
be happy, you know, even though like it can be argued neither of us really have achieved true happiness either.
Yeah. There, but like for people who are actually
Not
having
yeah,
these
struggling
like
right now.
really like if you're struggling right now, then I say the first thing, and I do this myself, and I know a lot of other people that do this, and it works for them, so maybe it'll work for you. But like I said before, I'm not an expert. I'm just trying to help you.
We're giving us
Yes,
our 2 cents.
based on my opinion, based on my experience. Um, you want to know yourself. Like that's the first step in everything. If you don't know yourself very well, then you have to start learning and knowing yourself.
What if I spend my whole life studying and never being a person?
Take a break.
Take a break.
No, really, take a break because all that studying is not going to do you well if you don't even know why you're doing it, for instance. And we talked about this briefly um, in the pilot,
Pilot episode.
but if you don't understand why it is you're doing what you're doing, then what just like there's no reason to do it. There's a very like the whole sentiment of why is extremely important, I think, to everything we do in our lives. Whether it's going on a jog in the early morning or eating a tuna sandwich for lunch. I think like why are you doing this? Oh, I'm trying to maintain my nutrition. Oh, I'm trying to stay healthy. Why are we doing this podcast? It's because we have this tendency, like we've gone over it, but we have a tendency to have pretty interesting conversations, and we want to share them with everyone, and we want everyone to see the glass half full like we do. And so
We is a strong word. Right?
and so once you understand why, then you'll be able to start actually moving forward towards that thing. And so know yourself, ask yourself questions like, why do I feel the way I feel right now? If you're feeling sad, like, is it a visceral thing? Is it an emotional thing? Like, why is that happening, and what can I do to make it better? If you can put an actual fingerprint, or if can you put like a finger on that thing that is making you unhappy, or that thing that is messing with your happiness, then you'll know, like, okay, now that I know what it is, I can go about actually starting to find that solution to that thing that is just messing with my life. And so the way I see it is, once you find out that one thing, like once you just find those many things, maybe it's just that first level. You have to understand yourself very well, though. It's really hard because personal reflection is something that I do a lot. I don't know if you do it actually. Do you self reflect a lot?
What does that mean?
Self reflection?
It means looking at myself.
Yes, looking at yourself in the mirror.
No, like analyzing
Yes,
my
and
personality and
yeah,
being.
your personality, your behavioral tendencies,
Yeah,
things that you do.
I hate that guy.
Well,
I always tell people it's always me, myself, and I, and we're always fighting against each other.
do you ever see more than just one reflection in the mirror?
I always see like three of them.
Oh,
I see the good, the bad, and me picking sides
well, you
as to
may.
which one is the good one.
Well, this is no joke. You may actually have multiple personality disorder. I
Pete, can
suggest
you
you see
actually shut up?
someone. Okay. Anyways,
But yes, I do self reflect, but like for some people it can be very hard because, for example, I was going to tell you, what if you're like me and you have the answers to everything. So like, why are you in college? To get a good job.
modest.
I mean, no, I'm joking, but like, what if you're unhappy in college and let's say you need to answer the question of why you're doing it. So why are you in college? To get a good job. Why do you need a good job? For money. Why do you need money? Financial stability. It's like, well, why are you studying this? It's like, oh, my parents or the society or my friends, my guidance counselor, they all said this was a good career. It's like, why why aren't you happy with this? It's like, because like, maybe for me, like, it was boring and dry and I don't like the material. Why are you pushing yourself so hard? Is because I'm being pressured by everyone else to do so. So it's like, you know what happens in that situation where it's like you have all the answers to why you're doing it. You just in your heart you wish you didn't have to do it. you know
I,
what then?
what if you know why?
Like, you're doing it because society makes you think you should do it, and money is important.
Well, then you
Those are
don't.
your
Then you
meaning.
don't really know why.
Money is important. That's my answer. Why?
That kind of destroys the whole idea of independence, though.
Of independence.
Well, the whole notion of doing like this self reflection is you are acknowledging yourself as an independent person, and you are gonna try to do the best you can to understand yourself so that you can better yourself.
It's true, but it is difficult in
Oh
certain
yeah,
circumstances. Not only to even achieve that on your own is already a pretty difficult feat, but like, if there are external things pushing down on you that you also have to overcome.
externalities are hard, very hard,
Yeah,
of
like,
course.
let's say, I like to think both of us have relatively supportive parents,
Yeah,
but like, what if your parents are like a tiger mom, for example, and they say you have to do this specifically, and you love your parents and you care for them and they've supported you, but you might not agree with their sentiment. You have to overcome that barrier of like having to disagree and branch off in your own path. That can be really difficult, and depending on circumstances can lead to not the best outcome.
well then
In regards to relationship, as far as your future, I feel like this is one of those things, like a necessary evil of sorts.
yes, I was gonna say that. My answer to that is, whose life are you living right now? Your tiger mom's or your own?
That's
You know,
that's the barrier you have to cross.
exactly. So I think one way to first starting like first getting to know yourself is um just get to understand your childhood. That's like that's a huge part, I think. Because childhood is very like this is going to become slightly psychological, I guess, but
It's fine.
childhood is a time period in which you are very
Impressionable.
yes, exactly, that's the word I was looking for. And so everything you learn, or a majority of the stuff you learn, whether it's behavior, whether it's just common knowledge, manners, mannerisms, everything like that, that's most of it is learned as you're a child. And so if you had a rough childhood, and there are plenty of people out there who have had rough childhood, no one's had it easy. Like you said, like you don't go through life without scraping your knee a few times.
But some people might scrape
Some
their knee,
people,
and some
yeah,
people might be
with
head deep in,
yeah, very deep cuts, we'll say.
thrown into the deep end of the pool
Yeah,
with an anchor on their
yeah.
leg.
And so if you have had if we're talking to you right now and you have had that type of childhood, would say, then you as painful as it may be, a lot of the answers you'll find as to why you are the way you are come from that. And
From self-reflecting back
yes,
on.
yes, a lot of the reasons you are the way you are come from what molded you, and that molding happened when you were a childhood.
What
When
if
you were a child,
what if you don't want to go back there?
that is the question that everybody wants to know, I guess.
What do you think about therapy? Your opinions? Because I
Uh,
feel like that's a pretty good place for
I
that kind of
actually,
thing.
yeah, I actually, I'm for it. To be honest, I think it's helpful. I think because when you can talk to a person that is relatively ambivalent on their views about you, like they've never met you before, for instance, like let's say it's your first therapy meeting, you go to them and they've never met you before, so they don't have any like opinion on you, and they're gonna try to be as
Neutral.
yes as ambivalent as possible when they're talking to you for the first time. Then they're not gonna really give you advice based on who you are before, but rather just what you're telling them, you know. And you can control what you're telling them, obviously. And then over time, as you establish trust, then that's how the relationship between you and that person grows, and thus they can help you more. And it's a good feedback loop, in my opinion.
I think so too. I think if you don't want, because it can be scary looking backwards at the life you've led,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, like even for us, I think there's a bit of cringe or a bit of like,
everybody, dude,
like,
everybody's got those cringy moments.
or
I look back at some of mine and I like it pains me.
yeah.
I feel deep stomach pains.
But you know, if you need, I feel like overcoming that is a very important step in everyone's life. Like I think growing up, like you can naturally, not everyone, but I feel like there's a natural level of like evolving as a person. Like I like to think who we are now is not the same as who we are 10 years ago. We've
Mm.
matured, our views have changed, our personalities have changed. We're not brats screaming because we missed a forehand. You know, we're more calm, mellow, rational people. And I'm sure 10 years from now we might be even more improved and more wise. As shocking as that might be, because we're pretty wise, aren't we, Pete?
I think you are very humble, you know, on
Always
your wisdom.
the most
No.
humble.
Yeah. You ever heard the quote of the person who thinks he is the smartest is actually not? That's you right now.
Well, I'm not claiming to be smart.
Oh no, okay, so we'll change those words around and say the person who claims to be the most wise is actually not. Got him. Oh, he's quiet. Why is he quiet?
Um, Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. I mean,
I admit I'm wrong there. I've improved as a
boom.
person. I've improved as a person. I've
Yeah.
proven that I am once again the most humble.
No, no, no.
Because I've been humiliated.
Humiliated and now has humility. But Yeah, I think it's important to understand where you came from. You know, it's important on a lot of levels. If let's say you're you know the whole stereotype
Mm,
of a bratty rich kid, you
yeah,
know, they grew up wealthy. They didn't
we're
have,
spoiled.
yeah, they were spoiled as a child. They didn't have anything, and so like they go through their life just kind of expecting everything given to them because that's what they were taught.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of parents in that situation didn't have it the same way. A lot of people that were considered successful, and then if you want to say economically successful, they had to work their asses off to get there. You know, they knew exactly where they came from, and I think the most success in that situation comes when you're truly a parent that did not forget where you came from. Then you teach your child as well how to kind of inherit that inherent um, humility, that idea of gratitude for all the things you have. um,
You know what's funny?
yeah. What?
It's
What's
like
so funny? Please
because
enlighten me.
because of us being tennis players, we've come across some rich people
Oh my
and
god.
rich families,
Yeah.
and a lot of these families aren't happy
Oh yeah.
at all.
Oh yeah.
Like these guys live in these great mansions. They have
Tennis courts in the
tennis courts in
backyard,
their own
country club
house,
light, like whatever.
expensive clothes,
But
they're just not happy, even though they've quote unquote succeeded in life. Whereas, we're not billionaires yet, but I think when we,
billionaires yet.
well,
That processed way too slowly,
it,
but Jesus.
it'll happen.
Hi,
Um,
Bill. Go on.
but I'm sure when we do achieve it, I feel like just because the way we do go about it, we will be happy because we're being honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
When we don't like something
Mm,
currently, before I would tough it out, but now I'm kind of adopting the mentality of if I don't like it, I shouldn't kill myself for it.
mm,
With the only exception being like a job, and even that's like if I can find any alternative that works out,
yeah.
then there's no reason logically I shouldn't go with the alternative if I prefer it.
Yeah. That's another aspect. So when after you know yourself, or maybe this comes as a byproduct of getting to know yourself, then you will truly start becoming, as you said, honest with yourself. Knowing yourself means that if you start like noticing some inconsistencies in your thoughts, like one day you say you love strawberry ice cream, and then the next day you say your favorite ice cream is mint chocolate chip. I mean, obviously the second one is better, but
Oh,
like,
excuse me, Pete. Controversial hot take.
um, but you need to understand what you're misleading yourself on, and once you're honest with yourself, then you'll really start to do stuff that is actually more useful with your time. Like if you love playing video games, for instance, that's great. But then if you're gonna try and go work out because you think it's good for you, or like you're doing it but you don't enjoy doing it, well, I can promise you it's not going to make you happy. If you love playing video games, stay in front of the computer all day, play video games. If you love exercising, do as much of that as possible. I mean, Kobe Bryant, like, our rest in peace, like the late great Kobe Bryant, he, whenever people asked him like, why do you work so hard, why do you do this?
People asked him that?
Oh yeah.
That's such a stupid question.
Well, no, but he didn't have an answer that you would expect. I mean, there was the cliche, oh, because I love it. But no, like he said that a few times, but the whole idea was I want to be the best I can be. I love what I do. And like that's the whole like thing that he loved it. Like he loved basketball. He ate, slept, dreamt about every second of his life was basketball. He couldn't think about anything else. And once you have that type of clarity on what you like he like even love, because it's very hard to find something you love doing, let alone like, um, then that will give you a lot of happiness and joy knowing that you're pursuing that thing. So, it,
I
yeah. What
that
were you saying?
I don't know Kobe Bryant that well. I know of him. I know how great and successful he was.
Yeah.
But I never like listen to interviews and stuff. So
Mm.
that's really amazing because I kind of had a similar thought process. I used to tell people,
He
like
would.
yeah,
Sorry to
yeah,
cut you off, but
continue, continue.
he would wake up at 4:30 every morning to get onto the court, and then he would be back at home by 9 p.m. and do the whole thing over and over the whole summer when they were in off season. And his whole rationale was, if I'm doing something that I love so much, I want to do as much of it as possible because I love doing it.
Makes
And
sense.
that's just so clear cut, so dry, so simple. If you love doing it, you're going to do it as much as possible. And that's what he did. And people would ask him like, "Why do you work like a dog?" I love it. That's all. Um, his rationale for waking up so early was, I want to be the best I can be, and I'm seeing my teammates getting out on the court at 9 a.m. I want to, and they're leaving by like 5 p.m. I want to make sure I practice at least twice as much as them by the time we're done with the day. Like I want to have 4 practice sessions in one day when these guys had two. I want to show everybody that I'm working way harder than they are,
Did
and
he
there's just
actually
nothing you
say
can do to
that?
stop it. I have another story about Kobe, but
Did he say that actually?
oh yeah, well not in those exact words maybe, but that is the sentiment he portrayed when he was playing in the NBA.
It's a good sentiment because relatively recently adopted the mentality of like if you're gonna do something, regardless of what it is, do it right. Like
Mm.
why, if you really wanted to do something, like actually, why wouldn't you give it everything you had, or at least do the best you can be? There's always the argument that like there might be someone better than you even when you try your best, but the important thing is you should try the best you can be. Like you shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people.
Mm.
Like
Preach.
yeah, you are in a perfect world you'll always be better than everyone else, but that should not be the thing that fuels you, at least not in the beginning. The first thing that should come to mind once you find that passion you actually genuinely love, regardless of what activity or dream it is that you should be striving to do it the best you can do it, because
Yeah.
that's all you can do.
Yep.
and and if you actually pay attention, if you do it for a few years, you'll realize you're among the best. Like, and you didn't, without even trying to be, you will end up being the best.
Yeah, and that's just because you did it all the time, every day, day in, day out. You just didn't stop. You kept grinding, you kept moving forward with that thing. Whatever it is. Can be Overwatch, can be running ultra marathons. Literally anything. You know what an ultra marathon is?
I think you told me it's like 100 miles.
It's actually anything just more than a marathon.
Okay, so I'll
Yeah.
run a marathon plus 2 steps. Ultra marathon.
Oh my god.
Ultra marathon
No,
participant.
it's do a marathon plus like point 0.1 miles. So 26.3
3.
miles. That's an ultra marathon.
Who cares?
Technically.
Technically, but who cares?
I mean, you're an ultra marathoner now.
Technically, anyone who like runs an extra step is an ultra marathoner. If they move the finish line like a few feet more, you're an ultra marathon winner.
There you go. Not winner, just
Er,
marathoner.
yeah,
Yeah.
unless you win, in which case you're the winner of both the official marathon and the unofficial ultra marathon.
Um so the other Kobe Bryant story.
Mm.
Um he was I forget who they were playing. I forget who was the person that was telling the story, but they were practicing, doing their pre-game shoot around, whatever. So this one guy on the opposing team gets on the court, shoots around. He's like the only person in the gym, so he thought. He goes there. Kobe's out on the court doing his pre-game like real game moves and everything, like working out, working to sweat intensely pre-game. Um, this guy does his workout for an hour or whatever, goes and sits down. Kobe's still dribbling the ball, still doing like his thing, getting ready. Um, and then that night, Kobe lit him up. He literally had a sick game, whatever. And then this guy that was out there thinking he would be the only person on the floor, he goes up to Kobe after the game because he wants to know what's in this guy's head. I want to know what happened. Like, why did he just completely torch us tonight? And Kobe tells this guy, I saw you in the arena getting early. I wanted you to know that I would do anything that it takes to make you feel like you couldn't work harder than me, or something. Like, I wanted you to know that I would work harder than you at any specific moment in time. Like, I will always work harder than you.
Rivalries are fun that way.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like a healthy rivalry always will push you to be better.
Yeah.
Because self-improvement is great, and you should always try to be the best that you can be. But it definitely helps if you have like either a partner or a buddy to like work with, or B, have someone who's competing against you.
Oh yeah.
So it's just like, okay, this is the bar that's been set. If I want to be the best at whatever I'm doing, I have to, at the very least, reach that bar.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
for sure. So quite simply, once you've figured out the why, you know, maybe you don't know. You have to try to find that why. Like, you have to look deep in yourself, look deep into your past, as hard as it may be, as painful as it may be. That is what will tell you about who you are. Then you realize, because of those things, all right, what you may like. You go out and you try a bunch of things. And then you realize, oh, wait, I might start liking something. That's when you do exactly what we said. You have to do that thing as much as possible. Because if you really like it, you're going to do as much as you can to do that thing as long as you can do it. That's what Kobe did. That's what
probably most successful people did.
Exactly. I mean, Bill Gates was stuck in that garage. Or no,
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, yeah, sorry.
You fool.
Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were stuck in that garage for years. I mean, Steve Jobs started selling Macs before they even had a product. Like, he literally would start selling Macs without having any inventory, no product. He would say, yeah, I have this amazing new product. It's coming out in, I don't know, 1984 or something. Was that when the first Mac was sold? I might be totally wrong. Because they had that you remember the commercial?
Yeah, with the
based
color,
on the George Orwell book, yeah.
With the colorful Apple symbol.
Yes, exactly. Like, breaking the status quo and everything.
Maybe around that time.
I don't know. I might be totally wrong, but he was basically selling this thing, and people were like, "What is this?" And he's saying, "Oh, this is
the future.
This is the future. Like, it is not based on usability and how useful it'll be, but it'll be based on aesthetics, the graphical user interface, like what looks good." And he wanted to basically give the people something else, and a lot of people loved that idea about him. And he spent years in the garage, you know, just doing something he loved, and for other people as well. You know, like, this goes kind of off what you said before. It's because of a philanthropic tendency as well that he wanted to work towards this thing.
I think it was more just ambitious.
Yeah, I mean, ambition is definitely a part of it.
No. I think not ambition. I think it was a spirit of innovation. I feel he wanted to, because I remember hearing like an autobiography or something along that line about like his life story and how he was like a nobody in college, or like a community college, like a low level school, and he didn't know what he wanted to do with his life, and then he took like a language, not a language class, like a type of I forget the language, like a computer course regarding like not cryptography, something along the coding of a computer. And he looked at it and he was like, I could do this differently, or I could do this like he basically took something on a whim, liked it, and then kept pursuing it. And he was in the beginning probably one of the biggest failures and losers, but he kept doing it, and eventually he became a world power. It's unfortunate that he had to pass away. Yeah, because I think
he was an innovative.
I think had he still been the head of Apple, the path Apple would have taken might have been much much more creative or
I agree.
diverse. Maybe.
I still enjoy Apple products, but not as much as I would have if he was still at the helm.
Yeah, but like you have to realize how much of a phenomenon he basically created smartphones
Oh yeah, I know.
like on his own. Well,
Yeah,
not on his own, but like him and his team.
yeah,
And it started with the iPod first, with that silly little thing where you spin the thing
yeah.
for the volume.
I used to think those things were so cool when I was younger. I had no idea how they could ever make
Top
this
that.
yeah. Or no, no, just make this thing like where you don't have to press a button necessarily. You're
To
just
do the
like touching
volume.
a pad and it's like I was like, I don't know, I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. I was
Yeah,
like
but
flabbergasted.
like look at all those baby steps he had to take, and like a lot of them were like not necessarily successful steps, but he
Mhm.
just kept going forward.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that brings me to the next thing. It's once you've started doing that thing that you love, you have to expect to fail. Like one misconception I feel like people will just look past is the idea of failure. You know,
failure is scary though.
failure is very scary. Yeah, a lot of people don't like failing, but the way I see it and the way a lot of successful people see it, I'm not saying I'm successful, nor will I be. I hope I will be.
We will be.
Cool.
Don't worry.
um, you need to fail. You have to, absolutely have to fail in order.
I
Oh
don't
my God, we're not
wanna.
gonna have this
I don't
conversation
want to
again.
fail, Pete.
But it's necessary.
I could win the lottery. Don't kick the table, Pete.
Stop, bro. Stop, bro. You have to fail.
You're right. I wish you weren't right, but you are.
I mean, I'm not saying it for the sake of being right. I'm saying it because
It's true.
if you go on a path that's not traveled and you expect to know exactly what you're gonna have looking forward, then you're just deluding yourself. You know, you can't expect to know unless you do something about it. You have to actually experience it. You need to go through it. And you will fall down, but what happens and what makes you you and what makes you happy, because this is another thing that leads to your happiness as well, is realizing that you have built the strength through several failures, one after the other. Like if you failed once, fail again. I commend you for doing it, and I urge you to fail again.
Yeah,
Um,
respect. You
yeah,
gotta respect the guy who tries.
you will start building this toughness about yourself. You'll be able to weather the storm. You'll know, like, once you've failed once, you're like, oh, maybe that wasn't so bad. Let me do it again. You do it again, and you keep going, and then once you first get that first success,
Now
and
you know how to succeed.
you know exactly how to succeed. Exactly. And I guarantee you, once you see that success, you'll feel happy in the slightest bit. You know.
You will feel pretty happy
Oh
at
yeah.
that moment.
Exactly. And so you can just replicate it again. And then when you start another thing that you love, and you start reiterating upon that, you make a bunch of failures. Then you get that first success. Oh wow, there's that same emotional high I'm feeling. I'm happy. I'm feeling good about myself. I achieved something.
You achieved what you wanted to achieve.
Exactly. You know, no
Um,
one. Failures harden people, I think, and they're necessary. You need them.
yeah, you're right. Another thing that's great about failure, relative, Pete, is that when you make a mistake, typically you won't make that same mistake again. You know, and if you don't, and
Yeah.
if you do make that mistake again for the second time, there's an even higher chance the third time or the fourth time,
Yes.
or who knows how many times. I don't know.
He was trying to reference me forgetting my headphones again.
In case it was too subtle.
Yeah.
We'll tune in next week to find out if the headphone debacle ever gets resolved.
It probably won't.
We'll see. But yeah, no. Like for example, in my current job, I didn't know how to code in Visual Basic for applications, which is basically the coding language used for Microsoft products
Yep.
like Word and PowerPoint and Excel. I didn't know how to code it. I knew how to code other things, but I had to use Visual Basic. They basically said you're not allowed to use other coding languages. So I literally I literally looked at what I needed to do, and I was like, okay, do it like this, and it would not work. and I was like, oh, it's not working. Why isn't it working? And then I'd Google it, figure out the solution, and then learn it. And then like do it correctly, and then do it again correctly, and then do it again correctly. And I've done it so many times over the last year and a half that like I'm pretty good at it. Like I won't say master because there's a lot of functionality that I haven't learned, but for the functionality that I needed to learn, I memorized it. Like I became quote unquote successful at being a Visual Basic developer, you know? And it only came from me spending hours, like literally hundreds of hours studying this stuff and doing it and failing and messing up and testing it out
Yep.
and going again and again.
Yeah. So.
I have another.
Oh no, go for it.
What about burnout, Pete? Because that's a real thing.
That is a real thing. I've experienced it on several occasions.
So, like, let's say you've discovered yourself and now you've found your dream goal. How do you not suffer from burnout? Because I've suffered it a few times with me designing a game. There would always be times where I'm like, I'm going all in. This is it, baby.
Yeah.
This whole week I'm doing nothing but game design. And after like 2 days, I'm just like, oh god, I don't want to do it anymore. And then the cycle just repeats where it's like I get a little done at a very fast rate, I get tired, and then I don't want to do it anymore until the fire rekindles itself after a long time of being burned out.
I have a very simple explanation for that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you don't love it enough.
Pete.
It's quite that simple. Or at least in this very moment and in the moments preceding this one, you didn't love it enough. And what is that sound?
I think it's the ice cream man.
Anyways,
That's fine. You want some ice cream, Pete?
No, I don't want ice cream.
As far as love goes, I mean, it's hard because like when you have a job, you have to like work, and as much as I'd love to not be trying at work, I kind of do try. And then there was also me getting back into shape, playing like a couple hours, like playing an hour of tennis and 3 hours of conditioning, you know, like a few months ago. It's like, when do you have time to do it? And or not even time, because I made time. I was waking up early and I was doing it right after I got home from work. But it's just like, when do you have the energy? And I feel
go on.
I feel like you need to really balance it. I think that's time management is is a very bad word that I'm not gonna say, but we all know it starts with a B.
It's imperative. But no, I really believe that if you were doing something that you love, that fire doesn't go away. And if you don't love it enough, that's okay. You might not love it enough right now, but once you've burned out and you're like, wow, I have no energy, I have no desire to do this thing, and then you realize that this thing just keeps popping up back again, like let's say you've been working on a coding project and you just lost the motivation to finish it, and then a week from now you say, and then a week from now you're like, whoa, why did I stop this? I actually like doing this. And that cycle continues over and over
until you finally accept either you like it or you don't.
Yeah. The odds are is you do like it, but maybe you're just not managing your time well, or you're just not putting your work efficient into this thing, or your work efficiently into this thing, you know? Like, and that's where time management comes place. Like, some people are pretty insane. Like Kobe, for instance, going to bed at probably like 11, 12 and waking up at 4:30 and practicing every single day doing that. It's insane. I mean, a lot of motivated people, I will say, they have this just like intrinsic desire to not rest. I mean, a lot of people call me extremely motivated because they think I'm insane, because I mean, quite frankly, I wake up like every single day between 6:30 and 7, but I don't have any job. I don't have any responsibilities, technically.
Let's see in a year from now.
Oh well, a year from now.
Let's see what happens.
A year from now, when I do have a job, I'll be waking up at 5.
We'll see.
We'll get there.
We'll be at episode
60 something.
Yeah, 70, unless we start doing more.
Yeah.
Like, comment, subscribe. Stop kicking the table,
by accident. Yeah, I don't necessarily have any responsibilities. I just wake up early because I love to do the stuff that I love to do. And so I want to have as much time as I can doing those things.
That yeah, and that's fair. If you don't like, if you have the free time and you have the passion, it wouldn't make any logical sense for you not to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Um, and one thing you didn't mention is, or you did, but you might not like it. Like I remember, uh, there was a guy who he said he wanted to get into game development, game design, but when he found out what that actually meant, he decided that's not exactly what he wanted to do.
Mm.
So, this is just another example of like maybe if you're like suffering from burnout, it might be just time management, or it might be, other reasons, or it could just be you don't actually like, you didn't expect it to be what it ended up being. So you might not actually like it as much as you originally thought. In which case, try again, try something else.
Yes. Then and it's just a loop.
And
It's
the
a
cycle
constant loop.
continues.
The cycle indeed continues. You're just gonna have to reiterate this whole thing. The whole finding out yourself, doing all the things that entail from that. Um, then kind of looking towards, because you know who you are, looking towards the things you like doing, and then experiencing all those things, and then just working towards those things as much as you can. We all have limited time on this beautiful blue and green planet of ours, until we start living on Mars, of course. um,
Would you, if people were allowed to volunteer, would you volunteer?
100%.
Really?
That's a conversation for another day,
That's
but I would 100%.
episode 3.
Maybe not. Well, I definitely know, like, time is, the way I see it, time is the only real thing of value in our lives. Like money, you can spend all the money in the world. You can.
Time and effort. Because I could sit here and do nothing for the rest of my life.
But you see, the only thing you're wasting is time. You're not wasting your effort because you're not putting any effort in.
But the potential effort is wasted because I'm not putting it in with my time.
Yeah, but that's just potential. Time is constant. It's linear. It's always moving forward. You know, the effort can be super intense in one moment, super not intense in another moment.
But it's how you manage your effort within the time that never stops.
Yes,
That's what
but
matters.
you see, the key word there is within. You were saying within time. You wouldn't say time within effort.
Time within effort.
Yes.
I could say that.
No, you couldn't.
If you do one push up a day versus 10, it's 1/10 of the time you spent. So the amount of effort you put within the time is not equal.
Yeah, but I'm saying that the effort alone
Never mind.
isn't
That was a horrible analogy.
Yeah, I'm saying right now the only thing that is giving us um, a real way to measure anything worth value is time. You know,
All right.
because within limited time there come limited choices for what to do in your life, and so if you know that, like, if you knew this might get dark, but if you knew the day you would die, wouldn't you want to do everything you could?
I'd probably do a lot to try and not die.
But you see, that's the point. It's if you know exactly when it's all gonna end, you're gonna want to do everything you can to maximize what you can. It's because it has an end.
You're right.
So time is really the only thing that we should value. And so once you understand
Make
that,
the most of it.
yeah, exactly. You just got to make the most of it. If you and if it's hard, I hear you. Trust me. I was in some really bad dark
Emotional
places,
state.
emotional places, yeah, in my life. And I'm only 20 years old. I'm no sage. I'm no, like, guru
Not
or
a Greek philosopher.
Greek philosopher. Yeah, I'm nothing like that. I just have a sense of clarity about myself. And I mean, human beings are all very similar. Weird how it works that we're all human beings. And so, if my psychology in that respect is that way, then I have a reason to believe it'll be the same for you, Alex. And I have a reason to believe it'll be the same for other people listening.
Similar at most. Not
Yes,
the same.
very. Yeah, okay. I'll change my words to say very similar. So, yeah, I just believe that, you have a choice. You have choices to make, and you know whether you're in a bad spot or not, you are the one making those choices. So once you can take charge of that, once you take charge of your will, you take charge of your responsibility to yourself and to the world, then you will be on the road to achieve happiness.
All right. There you have it, folks. The road paved to happiness has been laid out for you.
No, it's a long, arduous road. I will be the first to admit it. I won't say that it's easy, but we said that in the beginning. It's not easy.
Well, let's start paving that road, Pete.
Yeah. And
And
on that note,
I hope everyone else joins us in paving that road to happiness. With that being said, as always, stay positive.